Hi folks, Mr. MegaManFan here. Like, share, comment, subscribe. After a frustrating day of trying to get RPCS3 to work on my Steam Deck, and for reasons I can't fathom, the quick start guide on the website tells you that you have to add things by selecting file and then the file name. Only the GUI doesn't have anything called file on it, and there are no drop-down menus to select file from a tab. So how are you supposed to use file to add the firmware or create the crossbar? I don't know. And Tango doesn't know either, so I decided to do something else instead that was a little less frustrating and jailbreak a new Nintendo 2DS XL from Japan. Not the greatest, so I'm having to do this one-handed, but there you see God Mode 9 is in full effect. You will see that I have custom apps on here. I've got FBI, I've got an enemy, I've got the checkpoint, the Homebrew launcher, all that good stuff. The only thing that doesn't seem to work with the Japanese 2DS is the Universal Updater. I get the same error every single time. It just immediately crashes and makes me shut down the system, and then I have to boot it back up again. But other than Universal Updater, it seems like things are fine. I'm still able to install CIAs either from FBI or God Mode 9, so not much of a problem there. I will say that things have changed though. Apparently, Pickaxe has been patched out and is no longer available. Or, at least in my case, it didn't work, so I have to assume that what they say is accurate. Let me zoom in here and go down to getting started. And of course it tells you to check for custom firmware, check for your system version, go to Seed Miner and all of that. But there is something brand new when you get your movable seed file. Now you're going to create an unsafe mode zip file, and then you're going to move the files for the unsafe mode zip file into a DSiWare folder on your micro SD card. So this is a completely new method that bypasses using Pokemon Picross, because like I said, it appears, because I tried it myself, I tried a Picross Pickaxe hack, and that no longer works, or it didn't work in my case because this had some sort of, the firmware for a Japanese 2DS, 3DS XL had some sort of block to Pickaxe, or they just no longer allow you to use that method because they figured out that's a vulnerability and they took it out of Pokemon Picross. So now you do this banner bomb with DSiWare that'll get you into unsafe mode, and then it'll boot you to your system settings, and you'll go into the menu for your internet's Wi-Fi configuration, select proxy, and then it will allow you to inject the hacks into your 3DS from there, or your 2DS, whatever. 2DS and 3DS are basically the same, just the 2DS doesn't have the 3D functionality anymore. The slider to go in and out of 3D mode has been removed. So you needed to know this because I needed to know this, because I couldn't do anything without going through this new method. You create the files, you move the files to the DSiWare folder and to the root folder, and then from there you do the exploit and you set up a Luma and you go to DS Download Play and do all the other things that you would have done before. So I don't know what the issue is with Universal Updater, but like I said, the other stuff works just fine, like FBI. you'll see here. That naming convention has always been kind of funny to me. You use FBI to run CIAs. But as you can see, this is custom software running on the 3DS. And of course, if you've made backups of your 3DS cards in God mode, you'll go into the SD folder GM9 out, and that will be where they are. And then you can select them all, install them, and delete them all. And you can play your backups right off of the system, off of your micro SD card, without having to have the 3DS cards. So there are a lot of useful things you can do by hacking this. And of course, you can run emulators. There's Atari 2600, Commodore 64, SNES 9X. Now, the further you push it, the later the console generations go, you're gonna start having trouble. Like, for me, even with the new 3DS, which is more powerful than the original 3DS, 16-bit generation seems to be about the performance limit. I would say you get beyond that and things start to break. You're gonna get frame drops, buffering. I'm not saying 32 or 64-bit won't work in any cases, but the performance might be severely crippled if they do work at all. So best bet is to stick with consoles. I'd say up to like PC Engine, TurboGrafx 16, PC Engine, whatever you want to call it, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. That's about the cutoff point to really get them to run well. And even with the Super Nintendo SNES 9X, you may get a drop in frame rate when you're doing things that require the FX chip. Stuff like Star Fox, it won't stay locked at 60 FPS. It'll drop, but it'll work. It's playable. It's not so slow you can't play it. It'll just dip a little below 60. Anyway, that's all for today. This is Mr. MegaManFan, and I'm happy that I got my Japanese 2DS XL jailbroken and can now run custom firmware on it, which is more than I could do with RPCS3, RSPC3, whatever that stupid program is called. I can't even get that to work on Steam Deck, but I can run the emulators I want on here, so Fragilus Day, Galoo Galee.